You know those stories that sound like they're ripped straight out of a spy movie? The kind you think, no way that could have actually happened. Well, this is one of those stories. Except it's all true, and the truth is way, way darker than fiction.
So let's set the scene. It's New York City, 1953, November 28th to be exact. It's that cold, pre-dawn quiet of Manhattan. The city's asleep, totally oblivious that 13 stories up in a hotel, a terrible secret is about to come crashing down to the pavement.
The man's name was Frank Olson, and he wasn't a spy. He was a brilliant biochemist, working for the U.S. Army on top-secret projects. He checked into the Statler Hotel, and sometime in the dead of night, he went right through the closed window of his room, 1018. The fall killed him instantly, but the official reason for why he fell, well, that would take decades to unravel. To his family, the government spun a simple, tragic story. Frank had a sudden mental breakdown and killed himself. And for 22 years, that was the official story. Case closed. But it was a lie, a massive lie. The truth, when it finally crawled out into the light, was so much more sinister. Frank Olson hadn't just been part of some secret project. 9 days before he died, he was secretly dosed with LSD by his own colleagues at the CIA. He had no idea.
Okay, so the big question is, why? Why on earth would the CIA drug one of their own scientists? To understand that, you have to transport yourself back to the paranoia of the Cold War. This was a time when the battlefield wasn't just some faraway country, it was the human mind itself.
The ultimate fear, the thing that kept intelligence officers up at night, was this new idea, this terrifying new word, brainwashing. They saw American POWs captured in Korea suddenly denouncing the United States. They saw this Hungarian cardinal, Mindszenty, confessing to crimes he obviously didn't commit. And they became absolutely convinced the Soviets had found a key, a way to literally erase a person's mind and build a new one. And America was terrified of being left behind.
So the CIA's response was, of course, swift and secret. It started small in 1950 with something called Project Bluebird. A year later, it morphed into the more aggressive Project Artichoke. But then, in April 1953, the director of the CIA, Allen Dulles, gave the green light to the big one, the one that would become infamous, MK-Ultra.
And the goal here was just breathtakingly ambitious and terrifying. They weren't just playing defense anymore. Oh no, they wanted to go on offense. They believed that to control a mind, you first had to break it. They were hunting for a perfect truth serum, for ways to wipe a person's memory clean, to implant totally new ideas. What they wanted was the holy grail of espionage, complete control over another human being.
Now, to chase this twisted fantasy, they needed guinea pigs. They tested everything, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, you name it. But their favorite tool was LSD. And to see what it could do, they needed people to test it on. So where did they find them? They went to the darkest corners of society. They used prisoners, mental patients, drug addicts, basically anyone who couldn't fight back and would never be believed.
And this is where it gets truly insane. One of the most notorious subprojects was called, I'm not making this up, Operation Midnight Climax. The whole setup was like something from a twisted movie. The CIA set up these safe houses in New York and San Francisco. They hired prostitutes to lure men back, where their drinks would be secretly spiked with LSD. And then CIA agents would just sit behind two-way mirrors, watching, filming, and taking notes as these men's minds unraveled.
And if you want to know the mindset of the people running this, just listen to this quote from the agent in charge, George Hunter White. He said, "I toiled wholeheartedly because it was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? He thought it was fun."
You'd think it couldn't get any worse, right? Well, it did. Because up in Montreal, Canada, one of the most respected psychiatrists on the planet, a man named Dr. Ewan Cameron, was taking this dark quest to a whole new level of horror, and the CIA was secretly footing the bill.
Dr. Cameron's theory was that to rebuild a personality, you first had to completely erase the old one. He called it de-patterning. So patients, some of whom had just come in for mild anxiety, were put into drug-induced comas for months. They were given massive doses of electroshock therapy, like 30 to 40 times the normal power. And then, for weeks on end, they'd have headphones playing looped messages, trying to reprogram them. The result? Total devastation. People forgot their kids, they forgot how to talk, their minds were shattered.
So, By 1973, the political climate in Washington was changing. The Watergate scandal was breaking wide open, and people were starting to look into government secrets. The CIA director at the time, Richard Helms, knew that if MKUltra ever came out, it would be catastrophic. So he gave a single chilling order: destroy all of it. Burn the files, erase it from history.
And they almost got away with it. They burned and shredded almost everything. But here's the twist. The only reason we know about any of this today is because of a dumb mistake, a simple filing error. Years earlier, someone had accidentally stored about 20,000 pages of financial documents in the wrong cabinet. By pure dumb luck, those files survived the fire.
And those financial papers? Well, they were the breadcrumbs. They didn't have all the details, but they showed the money trail. And they revealed that this wasn't some tiny rogue operation. At least 80 different institutions were involved. We're talking major universities, hospitals, prisons, all of them taking CIA money to conduct these experiments.
So, thanks to that forgotten filing cabinet, the story starts to leak out. There are Senate hearings. The public is horrified. But that leaves the most important question of all. After 2 decades of illegal, torturous human experiments, would anyone finally be held accountable?
Let's just ask the question plainly. For drugging citizens without their consent, for shattering people's minds, for this whole nightmare program, who went to jail?
The answer is as simple as it is infuriating. No one, not a single person.
The mastermind behind it all, a man named Sidney Gottlieb, he just retired peacefully to a farm to raise goats. The director who ordered the evidence destroyed, Richard Helms, he got a slap on the wrist, a $2,000 fine for misleading Congress. Most of the victims were never even found, let alone compensated. And maybe the most chilling part, the ghost of MKUltra lived on. Its techniques became a dark inspiration for the enhanced interrogation programs used after 9/11. Officially, MKUltra ended in 1973. But when you realize that a program this evil ran in secret for 20 years, and that it came within a single misplaced file of being completely erased from history, it leaves you with a really unsettling question. How can we ever be sure that something like it isn't happening right now?